Welcome aboard. This is the Miles to Go podcast. And now here's your host, Ed Pizza.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Miles to Go podcast. Mr. Kerr and I were both on the road last week, and we are both home. Mr. Kerr, you look like you had a pretty good time there at Disney, which we're going to get into in a bit. Was it a good multi-generational trip?
The best, man. People, we had a breakthrough, all right? There is a certain subsection of people that follow me, i.e. everybody that works at Built and lives in New York that thinks it's so weird that we go to Disney all the time. But when they saw the smiles of my mom and the three generations and making the magic happen and everybody leaving happy, they went, all right, we get it. Like, that's good. Oh,
you tugged on the heartstrings.
We tugged on the heartstrings. It was great. Yeah, my mom is now a very happy lady, and she sends me a picture so far every morning with her new chip mug from Beauty and the Beast. They make like the little con. She's sitting on the porch drinking coffee out of her chip mug, and she's like, oh, it's just great memories. I'm like, yeah, okay, there we go. Son of the year, 2024. We win.
$26 mug? Higher?
With discount, I think it was down to 20. So there you go. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about my trip to the Rio in Las Vegas, the newest addition to the World of Hyatt. We got a little bit of credit card comparison because we did talk Marriott credit cards recently, and there's another offer out that I want to get your opinion on to compare. If we get time, we're going to show some Bali, Indonesia picks from the Slack community for where you can really stretch your dollars and points in Indonesia. Just a very affordable place to go, which you have been to, and I have not.
Bali's so hot right now.
Yes, sure. Funny guy. We're going to talk a little bit about Bali and Indonesia and how you can stretch your points out. So, a little bit of housekeeping before we talk Disney. So, if you're just tuning in, text us or email us. Text at 571-293-6659. You can also leave us a voicemail there. I'm losing my voice, Mr. Kerr.
And yeah, you got a lot going on this morning, man. You all right? You good?
Okay. I am. I'm old. You know this. Email ed at pizzaemotion.com. And then all of the social media channels. I'll see if I can get them all right. You are at Kerr Points on all those social media channels. I am at Pizza in Motion. And as of this recording, TikTok still exists, although the government is threatening once again to shut it down. So while it still exists, you can find the Miles to Go podcast on both TikTok and Instagram to catch videos of Mr. Kerr and I. We do have a little follow-up from last week's show, Mr. Kerr. Just a little bit of follow-up. So more on that in just a minute. But let's start off talking about your Disney trip. This was 4 days?
Yeah, it was Sunday, or actually flew in on Saturday and then left Wednesday morning and back at work. It's a very intentional trip, usually compared to like kind of our spur of the moment, usually hop downs. My mom has been watching the Kerr family, specifically the four of us, go to Disney for a few years now, and it's felt a little bit left out. My mom has a really, really bad hip and is pretty like completely like a day of walking Disney parks has just been out of the picture for 5 years. So we got her the scooter and we set up some really cool things and like made sure all the plans were right and got some really great trip, man. So my mom was incredibly happy. My dad and my sister came as well. And then the four of us stayed at the Pop Century, of course, used that Skyliner. I'll tell you overall, a fantastic trip. Two things to call out is one, this was my first trip with somebody in a scooter or a wheelchair. So figuring out the DOS, the disability system, figuring out, just how much longer it takes to transit things. When like the Skyliner, you got to get in the other line to get on their scooter, and they only run one mobility bucket on the Skyliner every 90 seconds. So we like the mornings to get to rope drop. I vastly underestimated how long that line would take the first day. But overall, I mean, that's a pretty good setup, man. Like you go and get services. They took one look at my mom. They're like, we're happy to help you out. They turned on the disability services. Is that services? I know it's DOS, but is it disability services or system, or what does the S stand for?
I think it's service. And I'm glad to hear you didn't have too much of a hassle. I mean, there are a bunch of people, as you know, that exploited it for a number of years. And so it made it much harder to get it for legitimate people. And, from everything you've told me about your mom, I would imagine that she couldn't make it to through a Disney trip without something like this.
No, she could not. So, I mean, yeah, just like you said, of course, there are people who I have no idea how you go to sleep at night with yourself if you're like fake doing the DOS thing.
Because you don't hurt anybody else.
Well, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, so the thing is now is talking to some folks in our Slack community who also have legitimate needs for this. So, like, you can't just go in there and say, I can't walk like that. They're like, get a scooter, and the scooters can go through the queues. So you have to have legitimate other reasons why. And then, like, of course, they can't really ask HIPAA, so they had a very scripted question that I was expecting, where the gentleman just asked my mom at guest services. He was like, can you briefly tell me what your concerns are with standing in line, not asking for specific ailments. But it's really cool. So they turned it on. As I learned, there's only supposed to be the person and then 5 additional guests, but we were 7 total, and they made an exception so we could all be on there, because the way it works is it's essentially like Genie Plus, where you look at whatever the standby queue is in the Disney app, and then you select a return time that would be equivalent to standing in line. And then at that time, you can all go back with the person, obviously, who has the assistance required, and go through the lightning lane, which, again, some of the lightning lanes at Disney now are not very lightning. I mean, if you've gone to like Epcot and seen the Ratatouille lightning lane going all the way back to the France Pavilion, like it's a little bit rough. So you still got to handle 20, 30 minutes for a lot of time. But it was great, man. We figured that out. Love Pop Century. Again, my dad would just ride. My dad and Thomas actually would just ride the Skyliner for fun. If they could just do that, just go back and forth. But the great thing to talk about briefly here is have an incredible person that's become a friend over the last couple of years, who is a Club 33 member, who very generously gifted us VIP tours. So Club 33 members of Walt Disney World get 4 VIP tours a year. That's each 7 hours. And she heard about the trip with my mom, and she was like, let me help you out and do this. Just incredibly beneficial to that person. You know, if you are listening, we really appreciate it, because my mom, we did it as a surprise, man. It was great. So I set it all up, 3 months ago, because as I learned, our guide told us that there's now 100 VIP tours a day going on in Disney World, right?
Yeah.
And they're having to borrow other people from other departments, get them trained up in VIP tours and like work logistics. And he said during spring break, they have some days coming up where there's 120 people on the wait list who are like, I want to give you $700 an hour. And Disney's got to be like, no, we don't have enough.
For a 7-hour minimum. Do that math.
Do that math real quick. Anyways, I set it all up, arranged it where, there's a whole other strategy, as I've come to learn. I was lucky enough to do it with Summer, I think 3 right before COVID, and then did it again this last week. It's a strategy on how to maximize those 7 hours. So I had the guide meet us at the front of Hollywood Studios. We rope dropped as a family. Again, family doesn't know. Rope drop, try and get Mickey and Minnie's Railway out of the way before we start the guided tour, so we can really maximize that. They can pick you up at the hotel, but we decided to pick us up right at the entrance to the park to save all that transit time.
Very clutch. Save at least an hour that way.
Yeah. Anyways, Mickey and Minnie Railway, we're walking in the pre-show. It goes down. We get evacuated out of the pre-show. Everybody gets the lightning lane to use, anytime the rest of the day. And then I had to figure out an excuse for why we're in the middle of the park, and instead of going back to Toy Story World, why we have to walk all the way back to the front of the park. And I'm like, completely make it up. I'm like, all right, I couldn't get my first, the next line is already an hour and a half for Slinky Dog and Toy Story Mania. It was like 5 minutes for Toy Story Mania. Said, my mom wanted to go shopping. I was like, let's go back to Main Street and do shops. We'll hang out for 30 minutes, and then it'll be time for our Slinky Dog Lightning Lane. So they went in the shops. I went and grabbed a gentleman named Jose, who just ended up being, I've heard so many wonderful things about VIP tour guides. I cannot say enough about Jose. He loved doing this job, and he was awesome. I texted him the day before, told him it was a surprise. I met him at the front of Hollywood Studios, and he was as amped up as I was. So then my family went to the bathroom, and they were huddled around. I walked up with Jose, kind of had my arm around Jose, and was like, hey, everybody, I want to introduce you to Jose. And he's got the plaid vest and the little fancy, the pin, and he doesn't look like other cast members. And I said, this is Jose. He's going to take us around today, and we're going to get to go anywhere we want to go on any ride. He's going to be a VIP tour guy. I'm like, Thomas starts jumping up and down because he watched this stuff on YouTube. And he's like, I thought you said this would never happen. My mom's already crying. My sister's like, dadgummit, man. How do you pull this stuff off? Anyways,
Did she say dadgummit, by the way?
She just looks at me like, oh God. She's like, at this point, I don't know. I love getting to do this kind of cool stuff for people and family. And I've been able to do it to my sister a few times, who's been surprised and ridden the coattails, as we openly tell her, of all the cool stuff we've done. So it was great moment. And we start, man, you can read tons of stuff about VIP tours. And I try to do a lot of research on social media. And guess what the majority of social media says, unsurprisingly, about VIP tours? If you go and look up a random TikTok.
I don't know. That's a good question. I have not. So
it is people showing off and saying, look at this awesome tour. And of course, not saying one possibly detractor of doing a VIP tour. It's everybody in their perfect hair and makeup and everything going. I'm like, okay, this.
Disney influencers in the wild.
Yeah. Who, if you want to be on the Disney influencer list, you can't say anything negative. But if you go look up the Disboards forums and everything, there's a lot of stuff. I will tell you this. It was a fantastic memory in a day for my specific reason. And obviously I've already disclosed that I didn't pick up the tab for, again, $700 to $800 an hour. I did pick up the tip, which was substantial for these kinds of things, and gave them cash at the end of the tour. But Dude, you're not getting on the rides. You are getting in the lightning lane for the vast majority of rides. And like we just said, lightning lanes can still be 20, 30-minute deals. There are a few really cool entrance and exits like Pirates and Haunted Mansion. And you can you're going backstage in the vans. Like we walked in through the cast member area of Dinosaur just to pop into Everest and right back out again. Like that stuff is cool. But the vast majority of it is you are literally going lightning lane to lightning lane. And like we do that ourselves. Well, pretty much on demand because we figured out how to maximize it. So the cost of that to go lightning lane to lightning lane, when you can do that yourself, if you do the homework for just the cost of Genie Plus, like I cannot see a world in which even if there's a world, which there's not, where I'm a billionaire in the future, that I'm paying for this. If you're a family that is that incredibly wealthy and you don't want to do the 6 months of homework, then I kind of get it. But at $700 to $800 an hour plus tip, plus park tickets that you have to buy, including park hopper tickets if you're going to go through multiple parks in the day, like it's rough, man. So like a magical day for us and something we'll always remember. But if that, like the opportunities there in the future, there's just, because you're not actually just walking onto the ride, you're just getting to every lightning lane. Like after first 3-4 hours, Emily kind of looked at me and she was like, we kind of already do this ourselves again, the guide is awesome. He's got all these facts. Learned a bunch of whole new hidden Mickeys, the backstage access is cool, but for the price point, man, like you did a lot, but I think you did a lot back when it was still very affordable.
200 an hour, yeah.
So do you agree, disagree? Like, what do you see? Not again, magical day again for the family. My parents my sister, like the kids, like it was great. But dude, if I'm picking up that tab, man, like we better be doing a whole lot more cool stuff than with the regular.
Yeah, so a couple things. First off, yes, when we used to do VIP tours, they were significantly cheaper. Like when I started, they were $200 an hour, was a max of 10 people. So we would typically bring 1 or 2 other families with us, and so the cost was spread across 2 or 3 families. I think that makes a huge difference from a dollars and cents standpoint. That and the fact that it was $200 an hour, not $700. I think there's a few things. One, I think one of the things that you may have missed out on, and I understand why maybe you wouldn't do it, but I think one of the things that makes VIP tours special is the other stuff. So going to the live Beauty and the Beast show at Hollywood Studios and having your daughter be the one that gets the rose at the end of the show. I was pulled up and made the warthog every time we went to go see the Lion King show, which is really no different than any normal day for me. But, like sort of those, once in a lifetime moments for the kids where they get recognized for quote unquote random special things. So I think those definitely make it more special. That being said, like what you talked about putting yourselves in lightning lanes, back when we used to do it, the OG Lauren, who is, part of our family, you've met her, she's super awesome. The program definitely had fewer sidelines and goalposts back then. And so it sort of was like, if you had a good guide like Lauren, she would just find her way into the line on pretty much any ride. And so you mentioned Pirates, like she just sort of like walked us backstage and walked us right onto where the boats load at Pirates, and did that with a lot of rides. It is more standardized now because, it's bigger program. It kind of has to be. So I don't like the dollar amount's a rough one. So I don't know that I would ever be willing to pay that amount. That being said, I do think there maybe are a few things you could have squeezed in that if you're looking to make those like unbelievable memories for your kids are pretty cool ads that, gosh, I mean, how many times could you go to the Beauty and Beast show and never have your daughter be the one that gets the rose, if you will? So I'm torn. Like I like you, I mean, gosh, I mean, $5,000 a day. I mean, a couple days of that is a great used car.
Yeah.
So I do
and
struggle
Ed drives
with
his
that.
cars for 20 years, so it's.
In fairness, only 18 so far. So
yeah, I thought about it while we were going. Again, this was all about my mom specifically.
Yeah.
My dad and my sister. And we cannot just move as fast as like my internal clock was like counting down the 7 hours, and it was like go, and like telling them. So if it was a different group like us, where we're going to like maximize it, we got everything laid out plus the guy's knowledge, and you like really crush it, then that would be cool. But it was just a different purpose for this trip, And then like my parents just needed to like take a breather every now and again. And like we sat down and had like a lunch that was like, between the transit and the order and everything, it was almost an hour of the whole tour. But it was just like my parents just had that. My dad had to have that. My mom was in the scooter, but my dad was walking the whole time, and he's not spring chicken anymore either. No, so
I mean, you really hit on it. Like if you're gonna do it, you need a really good plan. And to the point of like, having them meet you in the park and then having them drop you. And I actually don't even think they do this anymore, but we used to have it where we would end the day and they would drop us at whatever nighttime activity we needed access to. So like drop you at the parade and then they're off the clock, or drop you. Like I remember we were down there for Halloween a number of years ago, and so there's this bridge that goes from like right where the castle is in the Magic Kingdom out towards Hall of Presidents, the bridge I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And there's a little alcove right by the bridge there. And so that's a private viewing area for the parades. And the nighttime parades are super awesome from there because you can only fit like 15, 20 people. And so Lauren would always make sure that we were blocked in that spot. And one time we did this, it was the nighttime Halloween parade where they got like the ghouls and the villains and all that stuff. And Disney had just closed a really big transaction. And so we were in the front row and behind us was George Lucas's family because they had just finished buying Star Wars. And you're like,
in the back.
That was like really surreal that they walked in after us, and it was like, this is a little weird. So yeah, they're special things, but it's a lot of money.
They do cool things like that. So if you do time it just right, where your 7 hours or how many hours ends right at fireworks, they'll put you in the VIP fireworks section. They'll be off the clock. You can view, if you do the parade in Magic Kingdom, they put you on the top of the railroad station right at the entrance to the park, and like the characters in the parade know to interact with the kids up on the top, and you have like a Mickey bar and everything. Jose did drop us, like he dropped us in the lightning lane at Seven Dwarfs, and then he was off the clock and he was I'm out. So that was cool, but that was mainly because we had some bad luck. So we got evac'd out of Mickey and Minnie Railway first thing. Then when we went to Horizon, we were in the line and it was down, and then we were in the line for Seven Dwarfs and it went down, and I was like, dude, what are they gonna do with Rise, man? Like they gotta get this sorted, dude. Like it is bad. Like you have no idea if you're gonna be able to ride that thing or not.
We don't ride it a ton now because of that. I mean, like we had to refund it a couple of times when we paid for it and we couldn't ride it. But it's a time suck. Even if you, like by the time you go to a Blue Umbrella and get refunded and all that stuff, it's a great ride. But and it's also a lot of money.
Oh yeah. So I'll say like completely unforgettable, awesome day if it's an incredibly wealthy family or families that want to split it half and half and do $2,500 plus tip per day because you don't want to do the homework, then so be it. But man, I just can't see a time where I'm going to pick up the tab for it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. All right, so let's move on because we don't want to run out of time. We're going to have to cut a couple things from the agenda because I don't want us to be talking for an hour. We both got stuff to do today. I want to touch on a quick thing where we need a little bit of help. My daughter is raising money again this year for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. There'll be a link in the show notes for that. I don't think we can put the link on the screen because it's kind of long and messy, but we've got two fundraisers going on. One of them super easy. One of them is super fun. A little annoying too. We did it last year, but she needs a donation from every one of the 50 states. So as of this morning, we already had like 10 or 12 knocked out. I'll be putting these on Instagram, but if you don't, there's no minimum donation, but if you're from one of those unique states where not a lot of people probably listen, North Dakota, South Dakota, places like that, love for you to throw a donation on my daughter's account. What we've said to her is if she can get a donation for all 50 states, we will donate $500, mom and dad. So that's one. And then two, if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, I tagged how many subscribers we had before we started the challenge. And so she gets $5 for every subscriber, every new subscriber that we get. So if you're already subscribed, tell a friend. I'll make another $5 donation. We've talked about how the Slack community, we use some of the proceeds of that to help support various charities. And so take a bunch of my money and let's tell my daughter crush it. Again, the last year they raised I got the number wrong, $67,000 for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So definitely look to support again this year.
That's wild. Yeah. 67 grand.
Yeah. It was pretty awesome.
It was wild.
And as I mentioned with the Slack community, if you're looking to have some fun with us, we do semi-monthly happy hours there. We've got a bunch of channels where we talk about different stuff. Richard even pops by once in a while and answers questions. We're going to talk a little bit about that in just a second, Mr. Kerr. We have some follow-up on Slack community stuff. But it's a lot of fun. I've enjoyed the community more than I actually thought I would getting started. I wasn't sure what to expect, but it's a really good group of people. We've been supporting a bunch of fundraisers from various folks in the community. A lot of giving back and forth. Seen a lot of people helping other folks with upgrades, guest of honor, stuff like that. So a lot of cool stuff there. But we do have a point of follow-up. So from last week, we talked a little bit, Mr. Kerr, about your sash, and the results are in. And before we go to the Slack results, I want to invite on a special guest. They couldn't make the full appearance, but they did send a note for you. So if you look at your screen right now, there's a text message from your wife where she says that the Miss America sash is definitely black. For folks who didn't watch last week, Mr. Kerr was talking about his green sash. So we did put up some polls on the old social media. I was surprised that your wife actually
I'm just as shocked as you are.
Yes. So she does say she listens. So she listens. My wife does not, as you can see from the text message. But she did text me out of the blue yesterday. I was kind of shocked when I saw this because I didn't think that she listened. So you got to be careful what you say now, just for the record. So
yeah, I'm shocked. It's fun. This is going to be great. This is going to be a great. I'm not going to call it an argument. This is going to be a great another point of what I always tell her. So I have absolutely none of Emily's friends' phone numbers. Like I don't. Why would I text like these other neighborhood moms or ladies and everything? I don't know. I don't talk to them. Emily texts and talks to every single one of my friends like on a regular basis. She has everybody's phone number. She sends them texts. Everybody's always telling me what my wife is saying, and I'm like, how come? Should I just start texting Stacy? Do you think Stacy would like to have a text conversation with? Like, it'd be pretty weird. Like, that's. I'd be like, see, I told you. You gotta. I'll start getting all your friends' numbers and start texting. It's like it's a funny. I'm being completely funny. Like it's a funny thing that I always remind her of.
So in the Slack community, we actually did have a poll there as well, and the voting was a little bit more evenly split. Your wife was pretty definitive, so we pulled the numbers up in the Slack poll, and so choice number 1 was green, which is what you said it was. Choice number 2 was black, which is what I said it was, and the final numbers were every single person that replied that it was black. There wasn't a single person that was green. So so you are officially the only person I've met that thinks the sash was green.
That makes 2 of us that have to go to the eye doctor because it's actually on top. It's on the door to Thomas's room. Like he put it. He was like, "Oh yeah, this is mine." And it's like, "Now welcome back to the Park South Hotel." If you're walking into Thomas's room, and it's green. It's definitely
every time you walk by, you can think about that not green sash on the door.
Yeah, we'll do that.
All right, last little tidbit, and then we'll talk about the Rio and credit cards. I learned a short version. I learned apparently that there's a little bit of a small viral community who listen and watch the show. Apparently, somebody who works for me in the restaurants in Nevada found out that I had a podcast. I don't really like advertise this at work because it's, this isn't a work thing. So apparently, there's a group chat and they talk about the episodes.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So I've decided that we're going to start folding in the occasional Easter egg, just to see if they really do listen or if they're sucking up to the boss. So
this week's Easter egg is send Richard a Five Guys gift card if you are in the group chat. Send Richard a Five Guys gift card so we know you're listening.
I don't need you to kill my bottom line, man. Come on. All right. So if they're listening, then Jeremy, who is one of our great GMs who stepped up in a pretty big way recently, we love Jeremy. We are already sending Jeremy to a Vegas Knights game. My business partner has some pretty awesome seats at the Vegas Knights. And just to make sure that you guys are actually listening or watching, we're going to be buying Jeremy a Knights jersey for him to go watch his Knights, but only if he actually hears it here. So if not, then you'll be going to the game without a jersey. So we've planted our little Easter egg, Mr. Kerr.
I hear Vegas Knights games are awesome.
They are unbelievable. I mean,
yeah,
it's a good hockey town, but they know how to party in Vegas. So
really?
even if I know. Even if you're not a hockey fan, it's a great place to go for a game. So, all right, so let's talk Rio. And, I think there were a bunch of Hyatt folks who were bummed when the MGM partnership went away. It'd been almost 10 years, but part of it going away was we'd been hearing for, 4 years now that Hyatt had bought the Rio. They were going to do some major renovations and that it was going to be joining World of Hyatt. For folks that don't know, Rio, Las Vegas is an off-the-strip mega casino. It used to house the World Series of Poker for a number of years. It's a massive, massive complex and desperately in need of renovation. I stayed a couple of times, not great rooms. There's a lot of places like that in Vegas. But, this was, it was hard to see how this could be a Hyatt property without some level of renovation. And so recently, not even 2 weeks ago, Hyatt came out and announced that they had finished some of the renovations of the Rio and that it was officially joining the World of Hyatt, that one of the two massive towers, the Ipanema Tower, had been fully renovated, or not fully renovated, but a number of renovated rooms. And so I decided to go try this out. And for folks who are listening who are gamers in the Points and Miles community, you'll know that the MGM partnership was a very easy way to find your way to a top tier status. Cheap hotel rooms in Vegas are very prevalent. So I booked the Rio. I specifically booked a renovated room. It was with the all-in pricing on the website, resort fee included. It was $70 a night, but the resort fee was $40 of that $70, which meant my room rate was actually $30 a night. plenty of rumors that they were going to be waiving resort fees for globalists. And sure enough, when I showed up, the agent, I was really surprised by this. The agent was incredibly well trained. And I've heard this from a handful of people. They know the benefits of the program. They were happy to see us, the whole bit. And she very quickly said, yep, we're going to take care of those resort fees, wiped them off the bill voluntarily, asked me about my 4 p.m. late checkout, the whole bit. So no issues.
Was there any benefits of the resort fee that you wanted that you still got? Because sometimes when they're like, hey, no resort fee, but also no benefits of the resort fee.
Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't ask. And the hotel's still going through a decent amount of renovations. The pool area, I mean, not that the pool area would be open in early March in Vegas because it's still a little bit chilly, but they're resurfacing all the pool area, stuff like that. So I will be back out in Vegas again next week, and I will ask that very question just for you, Mr. Kerr.
Nice.
So waived the resort fees, offered to upgrade me to a 1,600 square foot suite, but it was an unrenovated suite. And she was very clear about that ahead of time. She said, we haven't really finished the suite renovations yet. And I said, well, I really want to experience the renovated rooms for, the listeners and viewers of the show. So let's just stay with a regular room. No problem. They do have a digital check-in option. We've heard conflicting reports as to whether or not you need to swing by the desk or one of the electronic machines to get key cards. So TBD on that. But the room itself was, the room itself was fine. It was definitely sizable. There was a massive sectional sofa with a pull-out bed in it, brand new flat screens on the walls, brand new beds. The bathroom wasn't fully renovated, like that had the old countertops, but brand new shower, big glass shower wall and all that stuff. So, I thought everything.
Did the shower wall go all the way down, or were you just spraying water everywhere in the bathroom?
Well, it was one of those and I don't love these, but it was one of those like the half shower wall. People can see me making it. It's like there's no curtain or anything. It just open to the rest of the bathroom. I don't love those.
I don't get it, man. And then was the handle all the way down at the far end of the wall? So the only way to turn the water on was to get yourself freezing cold.
They had the cutout in the glass, so you could just reach.
So at least you had that.
Yeah.
The showers where it's only a half piece of glass where you're just spraying water everywhere, and the only way to turn it on is to freeze yourself. Who and why is this still a thing? I don't know.
I will say I was surprised that no water actually escaped the shower. So it's the first one of those that I've actually seen that actually worked the way it was intended. But I think, you have to remember this is an older property, so there's still old bones of the property. That meant that there was some room from the room next to some sound from the room next to me. There was a connecting door, and it wasn't super bad, but I'm a light sleeper. So without a noise machine, that would have been annoying. And the hallway doors aren't the heaviest doors in the world. I happen to be down the far end of the hallway, but could still hear a little bit here and there. So it's not.
It was a $30 hotel night. That's what you're saying.
It was, so that's actually one of the comparisons I want to make. Excalibur is the $30 MGM property. Luxor is the $70 or $80 hotel property. This was clearly better than Excalibur. I would argue it's probably better than Luxor in that because it's new, USB-A, USB-C charging ports everywhere. There were two USB-As and two USB-Cs at the bedside.
Thank you, Hyatt, for getting that right, or GM or whoever.
The lamp beside the couch had USB-A and USB-C and a full plug. It was so that part they nailed. Sort of a newer trend in Vegas, a fridge in the room as opposed to just having a mini bar. So you have a fridge to put stuff in. That's not something that Vegas has done. Resort World sort of changed that and moved to having a partial fridge in the room for people to put their stuff in, a small half mini fridge. So I definitely liked that trend. I would say overall, I don't know if they were new air conditioning units. It was definitely a new thermostat, but air conditioning unit worked fine. So all the pieces of the room were perfectly fine. It was a brand new Hyatt Place room with more space. It wasn't sunken living room like Venetian. It wasn't tons of technology like Aria. It was if you're going to pay $30 for that room, great value. It's off the strip, so there's a little bit more inconvenience there, and I think that that's probably worth it. They also don't charge for parking, but I mean, it's
that's
it's
clutch. I didn't know there was no parking charge.
Nope. Today, yeah. I mean, who knows what happens in the future?
Yeah,
but it was I don't want to say it was great or it was horrible. It was right down the middle of the road where I would have expected it. It's category 3 property in Vegas, which means most of the time you're probably going to be better off paying cash just based on what Hyatt points are worth. But I did see massive amounts of award availability through the rest of the year. I did see some prices that were over $100 a night in festival time when all the prices in Vegas are higher. But for the most part, the rooms right now are really affordable, which I would expect. Shortly through a couple other things, Hash House A Go-Go is the breakfast restaurant. Right now, it seems like the benefit is quote unquote unlimited, but they're still starting to work this stuff out. I read a couple reports of people where the charge didn't quite post correctly. You got to tell the server that it's specifically for breakfast. I didn't have any issues, but they're, they're working out some of those kinks. Fitness center hasn't been renovated yet. There are a few other restaurants that are closed. They're still under renovation. And then the old wing, I think it's called the Masquerade Wing, where there used to be a bunch of restaurants back when the World Series of Poker was there, mostly empty at this point, a couple of like down and out gift shops and stuff like that. So not a ton to do on property yet. A new food court that they call the Canteen. I had, like a okay cheesesteak from Tony Luke's, which is a South Philly staple. So probably would choose the South Philly version. But the other stuff, the tenders, the sushi, all the other stuff looked and tasted good. So I'm perfectly fine with the food court. Actually, a lot of times when I come back from work, it's an easy, quick meal before I go to bed. So, I think this checks a bunch of boxes. I think it puts an affordable Hyatt alternative back on the radar for Las Vegas. It's not glitz and glamour, which is the trade-off of the MGM partnership. MGM meant you could go all the way downstream and all the way upstream. You go everything from Excalibur to Bellagio. So I guess that's the, you get the middle of the road, which is perfectly fine. And you get a good cheap room in Vegas. It's clean. I got daily housekeeping without asking. So like all the things you'd sort of expect, but, obviously not, super glitzy glamoury.
Where you don't still get Disney housekeeping unless you ask. I mean, housekeeping. Disney housekeeping.
Where is your head, man?
I don't. Yeah, you don't get housekeeping still every other day at Disney resorts. But if you do the new Hey Disney thing on the Alexa partnership little tablet, if you ask for that, they will clean your room every day if you put that request in through that thing. But we forgot about that the first day. So when you come back from a long park day hoping for a nice made bed and fresh towels, nope. All your crap is still everywhere.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yep. Rio's good. I'm sure people will be looking to take advantage of that for many reasons and hope it sticks around for the long haul. And then the only reason I want to go to Vegas at this point is just a hotel hop, try all the different hotels. That's why I want to go. I definitely want you to check out Resorts World. I'm also going to try and check out Fontainebleau in the near future as well, but I definitely want you to come check out Resorts World with me. Yeah, we'll have to do that, and there will be some good reasons to do that coming up very soon.
Nice. All right, so last thing on the radar is just a quick comparison, especially based on a recent change you made to one of your hotel stays. So we talked about the Marriott credit cards a few weeks ago. Actually, no, last week. And, we were talking about the difference between the 125,000 point sign-up bonus and the 150,000 point sign-up bonus. And those bonuses were just straight points. The offer has been around here and there to earn free nights as a sign-up bonus. And we were generally against it. I thought it was a good time to bring it up in comparison. So the Marriott Business credit card now has the free nights offer. And it's 5 free nights. And as you know, you can top up the certificates. But for folks who don't know, these are essentially 50,000 point free night certificates, and you can add 15,000 points from your account. So you can get up to 65,000 points, and you've got a good example of what a 55 to 65,000 point room is right now, shockingly. But talk about that, and I'm also curious, based on where these offers are, would you be shooting to try and maximize the 250,000 the 5 free night offers, which effectively would max at 250,000 points? Or would you still rather just take a bucket of points and control your own fate, even though it's 100 to 125,000 less points?
And you can top up the 50,000 to 65,000, right? With 15,000 top ups.
Correct.
Yeah. I would probably, just because that's our personality to try and be maximizers, take the five night offer and try and maximize those nights for 65,000 points rather than just the points. I think that's enough of additional value with the top ups that you should take that and try and maximize it. Yeah.
And interestingly enough, I don't know if this is the new normal or not, but talk a little bit about the reservation that you just tweaked.
Yeah, man. So I took advantage of the 5th night free for Marriott. I think at this point, about 6 weeks ago, found 5 nights at the Dolphin in June for a little group trip that we're trying to arrange down there with friends. And I booked it, I think 5 nights with the 5th night free was total just under 300,000 points. So again, with that 5th night free, thankfully, you're still looking at 60,000, points per night, which for the Dolphin and the cash rates were like $400 or $500 a night. I don't particularly like the Dolphin. It's old, but hey, free is free. Well, plus $250 resort fee. But I don't know why, man. Last night I was poking through the Marriott app when I should have been asleep because it was way past my bedtime. And I popped in the same dates in June, and the Swan Reserve showed up for a total of 211,000 points for a 2 queen beds, so all 4 of us in there,
right?
Which is very important for your Disney reservations. You got to have the right number of adults and kids on the room.
Yeah, you're not getting swapped out bed types. But
No.
if you want to go from 2 queens to a king, no problem. If you want to go from a king to 2 queens,
no, not gonna happen. Yeah, so I was like, this is a mistake. Like, I haven't seen this. Like, I was like, is that per night? Like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
I clicked down and got to the breakthrough, and it was like every night was under 60,000 points per night, plus the 5th night free. It was saved me 80,000 points to switch from the old Tired Dolphin to the new Swan Reserve, which is perfectly fine for all of us. And I was like, what in the world? And then I went to the multi-date calendar, man, and I was just trying to put up here, like, dude, we've been looking at the Swan Dolphin and Swan Reserve on a consistent basis for a while now, and I've never seen award nights this low. So, I mean, like, now's the time to go and check it out, because what's going on, man? Like, what do you think is behind this like noticeable dip? And I'm trying to pull up the calendar here.
Look, I mean, we've been talking that we thought a slowdown was coming in travel, and I'll touch base on that in just 1 second. But real quick, just to clarify, because I did pull up all 3 offers because I had some of the numbers wrong. 185,000 points for the Bonvoy Brilliant, but that's a $650 annual fee card. Bevy is 155,000 points, which is what we were recommending last time we talked about this. That's $250 annual fee. But the business card, $125 annual fee. I'd forgotten the annual fee was that low, and 5 free nights. So I would concur. I know you love that with you, and 5 free nights. I would take that. I would take that offer. The only thing I couldn't find how long you have to use the free nights. I assume it's a year from earning them, but I couldn't find that in the terms and conditions. I've never applied for one of these offers with the free nights. So I think as long as I had a year to use them and it wasn't something silly like 6 months, I'd be in on that one of those 3 offers. And as far as the slowdown goes, man, I got to tell you, I think I sent a picture to you and Howie in our group text chat. When I got to Vegas, I mean, Vegas prices for flights have been insane. I cleared my first upgrade to first more than 24 hours ahead of time on my flight home this past week, which I don't think I cleared one all year last year. Flight prices were down and the airport was empty, which is just not the case. And now typically I'd say, like, on a Friday, Vegas shouldn't be busy for departures. That's when everybody's coming in. But it's been so busy in Vegas the past few years that Fridays are still just a madhouse at the airport. And it was empty. And you and I have been talking, like, we think a slowdown's coming. And they're just like little tiny hints about it. Your prices there at Disney, my airfare is starting to fall a little bit. It's, I mean, like, I think we're starting to hit it.
I'm going to ask you why in a second, but I've got the calendar up here for the Swan Reserve in June. And Ed, you and I have not seen a night in the 60,000. Like, if you find something in the 60,000 previously, that was a good deal per night. Dude, the June calendar right now, there's 3 weeks in a row. I'm looking from May 27th until July 1st. Every single free night is available, and it is less than 55,000 points per night. 52,000 points per night every single day for 2 weeks. That is, I mean, in the cash rates I'm looking at are $508 a night. Like, this is value that I have not seen in the Marriott program. Specifically, if you're looking, remember, this is considered a deluxe property, so you get the extra hour in the evenings. You get, you're on property. It's the only way to redeem points. You're just going to be paying the resort fee. Dude, this is a massive turnaround. Like, this, like, somebody needs to write this up, because this is pretty huge. I'm going to clicking through the rest of the dates here to be like, oh, we popping down in April as well for, like, I mean,
only thing I would say is that you've really got to like Disney to go in June, July, and August, because it's really not very pleasant.
Luckily, those of us are stressed enough. But I can confirm to everybody, the Swan Reserve air conditioning works very well as a new property.
Yes.
So you'll like that. And then I like that you can do the Platinum Breakfast, which again is just very much a continental breakfast. But if you're looking to maximize rope drop, you can pre-order the night before for a time for them to deliver it to your room. So you can literally wake up with somebody knocking on the door, handing you a thing of oatmeal, a bagel, and orange juice, and you're ready to go. That efficiency I do like about it. And then
I am totally team Swan Dolphin breakfast. I'm not taking a bag of stuff at my door. No.
I'm doing that just so I don't have to wake up. Because then you got to wake up the kids, and you got to go get breakfast, and you got to it's just a thing, man. So I like the efficiency. And I did use my Platinum 5 award nights. I already requested it. And every single suite type is available for upgrade requests. Now, you're not going to find out until 3 days before, so this is absolutely an afterthought. And that's why we got 2 queen beds, and it's fine. So if that does clear, then cherry on top. If it doesn't, then... And it's actually not even the no-view room that I was able to book. You
actually might even be able to clear with those prices.
Yeah, so... That'll be a nice little trip there, because that's Midnight Magic, where the Typhoon Lagoon is open in the evening only for DVC members. So it'll be a nice little trip, man. I think some other folks we know are going to be down there. So if you're looking for value out of Marriott points and you want to do a Disney trip, I would go eat these prices up. Again, since this property is open, I've not seen this wide availability or these low of award prices.
Yeah. It's crazy stuff.
So then why do you think this, well, I know we're running up, I guess, time here, but why the slowdown now? What is going on in the bigger world?
I just think, I like from the little economic conditions I keep an eye on, it just seems like, savings have been depleted to some degree. And then prices are up. I mean, we're seeing that pressure in our restaurants. I think lots of people are seeing that pressure. And I think, everybody knows that prices are up. Every once in a while we get customers that are a little bit shocked walking into one of the restaurants about how much a burger is and all that stuff. But like intuitively, we all know things are more expensive. But at some point that ultimately equates to, I don't have enough money in my bank account to pay for the next trip. And so I think we're starting to see a little bit of that where maybe traditional business travel had tapered off. What had taken its place was I hate this term, but leisure trips, the blend of business and leisure, where you'd go to Vegas for a conference for 3 days, and then you'd stay for 2 or 3 days to have fun. You'd go to Orlando because there's so many things to do in Orlando, and you'd add a couple of days on after a conference for fun. And I think people are just doing that less because there's just less money out there.
It'll be interesting to see. We had a bet. I say a bet because there's no way anybody's going to figure out who to win, but if you're in the Disney park and you're standing there, what percentage of people around you have put that trip on a credit card just because they don't have the cash and tell themselves they'll just pay it off later? It's worth it now. I would say 80% of people paid for Disney with a credit card. That's my guess. What do you say?
I'd probably say a little bit less, but I don't think it's far off from that. You mean in terms of like carrying a balance? I would say yeah, because I also think there's a chunk of people who do Disney by layaway, like they pay ahead of time. So it depends on how you classify that bucket. But yeah. I do think there's a bunch of people borrowing. There always have been. So, all right.
Ladies and gentlemen, please don't carry a balance on your credit cards. Please pay them off every single month.
Please. I got more Nevada stuff coming up for travel. How about you? You got anything coming up?
This is the first week. We are recording this on Sunday, March 10th. This is the first week of 2024. I will be home Sunday to Sunday.
I am home too.
I'm a little nervous, actually, not having anywhere to go this week, but baseball season started, and I'm the first base coach for Thomas's team, so we've got some baseball practice and games this week, holding off to the rain, which has been terrible down here, so it'll be nice, man. But I am feeling a little bit anxious that I don't have an airport to run to tomorrow.
I'm okay with it. This is a week off the road, which is going to be odd for me. March, I'm going to be gone mostly because I'm trying to stack up a bunch of trips to be home in April and May more. So our daughter's last track season before she graduates, I want to be at as many of her track meets as I can. So that's my goal, is to be home a little bit more during the week in April and May. So you'll see a lot of me in Virginia as opposed to elsewhere in the world after we get through a pretty busy March travel season. Quick reminder for folks, I got those 2 fundraisers. You can see them on my Instagram channel. Love for you guys to help us out, helping my daughter raise a few bucks for charity, Leukemia Lymphoma Society. Great cause, something that we need to eradicate in this world. Mr. Kerr, glad to hear about your Disney trip. Can't wait for you to pay for my next VIP tour.
Me and you both, man. Me and you both.
All right, folks, thanks for tuning in. Until we upload again, we've got miles to go.